Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon and watched the stars through the wide window. His ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now, looking for signs of other life in the galaxy. The year was 2157, and humans had been exploring space for over a century, but they had never found anyone else out there. That was about to change. The communication officer, Lieutenant Ryan Walsh, suddenly turned around in his chair. His face looked excited but also worried. He had been listening to radio signals from deep space for weeks, hoping to hear something different from the usual cosmic noise. Today he found it. "Captain Morrison, you need to hear this," Ryan said. He played a recording through the ship's speakers. Strange sounds filled the bridge like music, but not quite music. The sounds had patterns that seemed too organized to be natural. Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's language expert, moved closer to listen. She had studied every human language and several ancient ones, too. Her job was to help communicate with any aliens they might find. She listened carefully to the strange sounds, and her eyes grew wide. "This is definitely a language," she said. "It has structure and meaning. Someone intelligent made these sounds." She paused and looked at Captain Morrison. "Captain, I think we just found aliens." Captain Morrison felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. He was a careful man who had spent 20 years in space, but nothing had prepared him for this. He called his tactical officer, Commander Sam Davis, to the bridge. Sam arrived quickly. He was a former military man who always thought about security first. When he heard the alien message, his first question was simple. "Are they friendly or dangerous?" Nobody could answer that question yet. The message seemed peaceful, but aliens might think very differently from humans. Captain Morrison decided to send a reply. Dr. Carter helped him create a simple mathematical message that any intelligent species should understand. They sent it toward the source of the alien signals and waited. The answer came faster than expected. Within 6 hours, a new message arrived. This time the aliens had copied the human mathematical pattern and added their own. Dr. Carter worked day and night to understand what they were saying. She discovered that the aliens wanted to meet face to face. 3 weeks later, the alien ships arrived. Captain Morrison and his crew watched through their instruments as massive vessels appeared near the Kepler-7 space station. The alien ships were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. They looked like they were grown, rather than built with smooth curves and surfaces that seemed to shift and change color. The aliens called themselves the Zephyrians. Their leader, High Commander Vexalar, agreed to meet with human representatives at the space station. Ambassador Helen Brooks arrived from Earth to handle the negotiations. She was a smart woman who had dealt with difficult situations before, but never anything like this. The first meeting took place in a large room on Kepler-7. When High Commander Vexalar entered, everyone understood why the aliens felt superior. He was 7 feet tall with skin that looked like crystal. His movements were smooth and perfect. He spoke through a translation device that turned his words into clear English. "We greet the young species called humans," Vexalar said. His voice sounded beautiful but cold. "We represent the Zephyrian Empire, which rules 12 star systems and guides many worlds toward order and peace." Ambassador Brooks smiled and tried to appear confident. "We welcome contact with your empire. Humanity hopes to learn from your experience and wisdom." During the next few days, the humans and aliens exchanged information about their cultures and technologies. The Zephyrians seemed interested in everything about humanity, asking detailed questions about human government, military capabilities, and social structures. They wanted to know how humans made decisions and solved problems. Dr. Carter noticed something strange during these conversations. The aliens asked their questions in a way that seemed polite, but there was something else underneath. They acted like teachers studying children, not like equals meeting for the first time. She shared her concerns with Captain Morrison, but they both knew they had to be careful not to offend their powerful visitors. Commander Davis also noticed troubling signs. His instruments detected that the alien ships were scanning human settlements and military bases. When he asked about this, the Zephyrians said they were just curious about human technology. Their explanation seemed reasonable, but Davis remained suspicious. The aliens were particularly interested in human emotions and individual thinking. They asked why humans often disagreed with each other and why they made decisions based on feelings instead of pure logic. Ambassador Brooks tried to explain that human diversity and creativity were strengths, but the aliens seemed puzzled by this idea. After a week of meetings, High Commander Vexillar announced that the Zephyrians needed time to consider humanity's place in the galactic community. The alien ships departed as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving the humans with more questions than answers. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge again, watching the alien ships disappear into the darkness of space. Something about their departure felt wrong, like a storm gathering just beyond the horizon. Dr. Carter and Commander Davis shared his unease. The aliens had been polite and peaceful, but their questions had been too focused on human weaknesses and military capabilities. "What do you think they really wanted to know about us?" Ryan asked. Captain Morrison looked at his crew and realized they were all thinking the same thing. The aliens had not come to welcome humanity into the galaxy. They had come to judge whether humans were worthy of survival. 3 months passed after the aliens left, and life on Earth tried to return to normal. Captain Morrison and his crew remained on patrol near the outer colonies, watching for any sign of the Zephyrians' return. Dr. Carter spent her time studying the alien language recordings, trying to understand more about how they thought and communicated. Commander Davis worked with Earth's military leaders to analyze what they had learned about alien technology. The waiting ended on a Tuesday morning, when every communication device on Earth received the same message at exactly the same time. Television broadcasts stopped mid-sentence, radio stations went silent, and computer screens everywhere displayed the same alien symbols that slowly transformed into human languages. High Commander Vexillar's face appeared on billions of screens across the planet. His crystal-like features remained calm and emotionless as he delivered his message. Behind him, the humans could see the interior of a massive alien ship filled with advanced technology that made their best equipment look primitive. "People of Earth," Vexillar began, his translated voice carrying clearly through every speaker on the planet. "The Zephyrian Empire has completed its evaluation of your species. We have determined that humanity poses a significant risk to galactic stability and order." President Laura Martinez was in an emergency meeting with her cabinet when the message began. She watched the alien commander with growing alarm as he continued speaking. The room fell completely silent except for the sound of his voice. "Your species demonstrates dangerous unpredictability and violent tendencies," Vexillar said. "Your inability to maintain unified government and your reliance on emotional decision-making make you unsuitable for independent existence in civilized space." The alien commander paused, letting his words sink in across the planet. Billions of humans stopped whatever they were doing to listen to what came next. Therefore, the Zephyrian Empire offers humanity 2 choices. You may surrender your independence and accept relocation to mining colonies where you will work under proper supervision. This option allows your species to survive while contributing to galactic order. Your second choice is to resist, in which case we will eliminate your species as a threat to peaceful civilizations. President Martinez felt the blood drain from her face. Around the conference table, her advisors looked shocked and angry. General Peter Yang, the head of Earth's military forces, clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. Admiral Kate Johnson stared at the screen with the expression of someone calculating impossible odds. "You have 72 hours to decide," Vexillar continued. "At the end of this period, we will return for your answer." Choose wisely. The Zephyrian Empire has brought order to 47 worlds. None have successfully resisted our guidance. The Yao transmission ended abruptly, leaving Earth in stunned silence. Within minutes, the silence broke as millions of people began talking, shouting, and demanding answers from their governments. Emergency sessions convened in every major capital as world leaders tried to process what had just happened. President Martinez immediately activated the Global Defense Council, bringing together military and political leaders from every nation. The meeting took place in a secure bunker beneath Washington, with representatives joining by video link from around the world. "We need to understand what we're facing," the president said as the meeting began. "General Yang, what's your assessment of our military situation?" General Yang stood up, his uniform crisp despite the early hour. He had fought in 3 wars and never backed down from a fight, but his expression was grim. "Madam President, based on what we observed at Kepler-7, the alien fleet could destroy our orbital defenses within hours. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." Senator Nick Green, who chaired the Senate Defense Committee, interrupted. "Then we have to consider surrender. We can't fight a war we can't win. Maybe we can negotiate better terms for the mining colonies." Admiral Johnson shook her head firmly. "With respect, Senator, slavery is slavery. These aliens aren't offering us a choice between freedom and safety. They're offering us a choice between slavery and death." Dr. Alan Foster joined the meeting by video link from the Deep Space Research Institute. He had spent the last 3 months analyzing every piece of data they had collected about Zephyrian technology and society. His findings were disturbing, but also gave some hope. "The aliens have used this same pattern before," Dr. Foster explained. "We've detected similar ultimatums sent to 47 other worlds over the past 1,000 years. Every species that received this message either surrendered immediately or was destroyed within days." "That's not encouraging," President Martinez said. "Actually, it might be," Dr. Foster replied. "All the conquered species were hive minds or had very rigid social structures. They made decisions slowly and followed orders without question. The aliens have never faced a species like humanity before." General Yang leaned forward with interest. "What do you mean?" "Humans are unpredictable," Dr. Foster said. "We make quick decisions based on incomplete information. We disagree with our leaders. We fight even when we know we might lose. The aliens see these as weaknesses, but they might actually be our greatest strengths." Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system from his ship. "Dr. Foster is right. During our meetings, the aliens seemed confused by human behavior. They kept asking why we don't all think the same way. Meanwhile, across Earth, ordinary people were making their own preparations." Former soldier Tony Blake gathered his old military friends in New York City. Marine biologist Carol White began converting underwater research stations into hidden bases. Construction worker Jake Phillips started collecting materials that could be used to build weapons or explosives. Dr. Carter, still aboard the New Horizon, worked frantically to decode more alien communications. She had discovered that the Zephyrians were broadcasting constantly among their ships, coordinating their movements with mathematical precision. Their rigid communication patterns might be another weakness humans could exploit. As the 72-hour deadline approached, humanity began to show what made them different from every other species the aliens had encountered. Instead of unified surrender or organized military resistance, billions of individuals started making their own plans for survival and resistance. President Martinez addressed the world as the deadline approached. "We will not surrender our freedom," she announced. "We will not accept slavery for our children. If the aliens want to destroy us, they will learn that humanity does not die quietly." The Global Defense Council had made its decision, but more importantly, so had ordinary people around the world. Teachers like Amy Clark organized evacuation plans for their students. Engineers like Maria Santos designed improvised weapons using household materials. Pilots like Steve Rogers volunteered for missions that had no hope of return. As the 72 hours ended, alien ships began appearing in Earth's solar system. Hundreds of biomechanical vessels took positions around the planet, their weapons aimed at major cities and military installations. The ships were beautiful and terrible, carrying technology that could end human civilization in minutes. High Commander Vexalar broadcast one final message. Your time has expired. We detect no surrender signals from your planet. This is unfortunate, but not unexpected. Your species will be eliminated to preserve galactic peace. President Martinez stood in the White House, surrounded by her advisors and military commanders. Outside, she could see alien ships hanging in the sky like storm clouds. She activated the global communication system and spoke her final words to humanity. This is our darkest hour, but it will not be our last hour. We are human. We endure. We fight. We survive. Let them see what humanity really means. The first alien weapons began to fire. The alien attack began with precision and overwhelming force. Energy beams struck military bases around the world, turning advanced installations into smoking craters in seconds. Gravitational weapons pulled orbital defense platforms apart like toys. The Zephyrians expected the war to end within hours, just like it had on 47 other worlds. They were wrong. In New York City, the first alien beam destroyed the main military command center as planned. But instead of surrendering, the humans scattered like insects disturbed from their nest. Tony Blake, a former Special Forces operator who now worked construction, had been waiting for this moment. He led 50 volunteers into the subway tunnels, beneath Manhattan, where they had been stockpiling supplies for weeks. They took out the big targets first, Tony told his team as explosions shook the ground above them. That means they're following their standard playbook. But they don't understand how we really fight. The aliens had studied human military structures and expected organized resistance from central command points. Instead, they found thousands of independent groups acting without coordination or clear leadership. Construction workers became demolition experts. Police officers turned into guerrilla fighters. Teachers organized evacuation networks that moved like water through cracks in the alien assault. High Commander Vexalar watched the initial attack from his flagship, expecting to see surrender signals within the first hour. His tactical displays showed successful destruction of all major military targets, but human resistance was actually increasing instead of decreasing. This had never happened before. Report status, Vexalar commanded his tactical officer. All primary targets destroyed. Successfully, Commander. However, we are detecting unexpected activity across the planet. Small groups of humans are attacking our ground forces with improvised weapons and unconventional tactics. Carol White, a marine biologist, had been preparing underwater facilities since the alien ultimatum. When the attack began, she activated a network of hidden bases in oceans and lakes around the world. The aliens had never fought an aquatic species before, and their sensors could not penetrate deep water effectively. From her base beneath Lake Superior, Carol coordinated with similar groups around the world. Former Navy personnel used civilian submarines and modified boats to move supplies and personnel. The aliens controlled the skies and the land surface, but they had forgotten about 70% of Earth's surface that lay underwater. Dr. Foster's research team worked frantically in a hidden laboratory built inside an abandoned mine. With physicist Dr. Kevin Brown and computer specialist Jenny Miller, they analyzed captured alien technology from the first wave of attacks. What they discovered changed everything. Their weapons and ships are incredibly advanced, Dr. Foster explained to Dr. Brown as they examined alien debris. But they're designed to fight predictable enemies. Look at these targeting systems. The alien weapons used sophisticated computers to predict enemy movements and counter strategies. They could calculate thousands of possible responses and prepare for each one. But human behavior broke their prediction models completely. Jenny Miller discovered the most important weakness while analyzing alien computer systems. Their targeting computers are trying to read our minds, she said. They scan brain patterns to predict what we'll do next. But human thought patterns are so chaotic that their computers can't process the data fast enough. This discovery spread through the resistance networks within days. Humans learned that the more unpredictable and emotional they became, the harder it was for alien weapons to target them effectively. Pilots who flew with anger and desperation found that alien interceptors couldn't predict their movements. Soldiers who fought with pure instinct survived longer than those who followed military training. Jake Phillips, the construction worker, proved this theory in downtown Chicago. When alien ground forces occupied the city center, he approached their position alone, carrying what looked like a simple toolbox. The alien sensors couldn't determine if he was a threat because his intentions kept changing from moment to moment. As Jake walked toward the alien checkpoint, he thought about his daughter's safety, then about the best way to plant his explosives, then about a song he heard on the radio that morning. His mind jumped between thoughts so rapidly that the alien predictive systems couldn't establish a pattern. He got within 50 feet of the alien command post before triggering the explosives hidden in his toolbox. The blast destroyed the alien position and opened a hole in their defenses that human fighters exploited for hours. The aliens faced another problem they had never encountered before. Humans continued fighting even when defeat seemed certain. On every previous world, conquered species surrendered when their military forces were destroyed. Humans fought harder. Pilot Steve Rogers demonstrated this when his fighter squadron engaged alien interceptors over Los Angeles. His plane took critical damage early in the battle, but instead of ejecting or attempting to land, he aimed his crippled fighter directly at the largest alien ship in the formation. "This is for Earth," he radioed to his wingmates as his damaged plane screamed toward the alien vessel. The impact destroyed both his fighter and the alien ship, creating an opening that allowed the rest of his squadron to escape. The Zephyrians could not understand this behavior. In their logical society, individual sacrifice for uncertain gains made no sense. They had expected humans to calculate odds and surrender when victory became impossible. Instead, humans seemed to become more dangerous as their situation grew, more desperate. Teacher Amy Clark showed another aspect of human strength in Denver. When alien forces surrounded her school, she could have fled or hidden with her students. Instead, she organized an evacuation that saved 200 children while drawing alien fire toward herself. She died in the battle, but her sacrifice allowed every child to escape. The aliens reported these incidents to High Commander Vexalar as anomalies, but similar events were happening across the planet. Humans were making decisions that prioritized the survival of others over their own safety. This selfless behavior created tactical situations that alien computers could not model or predict. Engineer Maria Santos worked with a team of volunteers in Mexico City to create weapons from common materials. They built electromagnetic pulse devices using car batteries and copper wire. These crude weapons could disable alien sensors and communication equipment, creating blind spots in the alien surveillance network. The most shocking discovery came when Dr. Carter, still aboard the New Horizon in orbit, managed to intercept alien communications. She learned that human resistance was not only surviving, but actually growing stronger with each passing day. "Captain Morrison," she called excitedly, "I've decoded their battle reports. The aliens are losing more equipment and personnel than they planned. They're requesting reinforcements from other sectors." Captain Morrison studied the intelligence data with Commander Davis. The alien fleet was enormous and technologically superior, but it was not designed for a prolonged conflict against an unpredictable enemy. Their ships required specific types of fuel and replacement parts that were not available in the solar system. "They're fighting far from home," Commander Davis realized, "and they expected this to be over quickly. The longer we hold out, the more problems they'll have maintaining their fleet." Back on Earth, the Resistance was learning to exploit every alien weakness. Former police officer Mike Jackson organized urban warfare tactics in Seattle. His teams used the city's underground infrastructure to move unseen, striking at alien positions and disappearing before retaliation could arrive. Electrician Carlos Rivera discovered that alien equipment was vulnerable to power surges from Earth's electrical grid. By overloading transformers and redirecting power flow, his team could create electromagnetic interference that disabled alien sensors across entire city blocks. Nurse Hannah Lewis had never imagined she would become an explosives expert, but the war changed everyone. She learned to build bombs from medical supplies and cleaning chemicals, creating weapons that were undetectable by alien sensors designed to find military equipment. As the first month of fighting ended, High Commander Vexillar faced a crisis that no Zephyrian commander had ever experienced. The human resistance was not weakening, it was adapting, learning, and growing stronger. Worse yet, news of human defiance was beginning to spread to other worlds in the Zephyrian Empire. For the first time in their empire's history, the Zephyrians faced an enemy that refused to accept defeat and grew more dangerous with each battle. The humans had turned their greatest weaknesses into their most powerful weapons, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months into the war, High Commander Vexillar stood before the Zephyrian High Council through a holographic communication link. The crystalline beings that ruled the Empire listened in silence as he delivered a report that challenged everything. They believed about galactic conquest. The human resistance has not collapsed as predicted, Vexillar admitted. Our forces have achieved tactical victories in numerous engagements, but strategic control of the planet remains incomplete. Human fighting capacity has actually increased since the initial assault. The eldest member of the High Council, a being known as First Speaker Kethran, leaned forward. Her crystal form pulsed with colors that indicated displeasure. Explain how a primitive species continues to resist superior technology and overwhelming force. Vexillar hesitated before answering. The humans do not fight according to any logical pattern we can predict. They sacrifice themselves for gains that our computers classify as insignificant. They continue attacking even when victory is mathematically impossible. On Earth, Lieutenant Colonel Danny Wright was proving the aliens' assessment correct. He led a special operations team that had been capturing alien technology and personnel for months. Working with scientists like Dr. Rebecca Torres and mechanic-turned-engineer Frank Garcia, they had achieved something that should have been impossible. We've cracked their power systems, Frank announced as he connected human-built components to an alien energy core. This baby can power a small city, and now we can control it with our own computers. Dr. Torres had been studying alien materials science while Frank worked on their engineering. Their hull plating is incredible, she said. It's stronger than anything we've ever made, but it's also predictable. If we can generate the right frequency vibrations, we can shatter it like glass. Danny's team had grown from 12 soldiers to over 300 volunteers. They included former military personnel, civilian engineers, and ordinary people who had learned to fight through necessity. Together, they had turned an abandoned factory in Ohio into a production facility for hybrid weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. The breakthrough moment came when Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth's military command. Instead of defending human territory, they were going on the offensive. The plan seemed insane. Use captured alien ships to attack Zephyrian supply lines and staging areas beyond Earth's solar system. They'll never expect us to leave our home planet, Admiral Johnson explained during a strategy meeting. Every species they've conquered before focused entirely on defending their home world. We're going to hit them where they feel safe. Captain Morrison's ship, the New Horizon, had been equipped with hybrid technology and joined by 24 other vessels crewed by volunteers who understood they might never return to Earth. The mixed fleet included converted civilian ships, captured alien vessels, and experimental craft built in hidden facilities around the world. The first target was a Zephyrian supply depot located 3 star systems away from Earth. The alien facility orbited a dead planet, protected by automated defenses and a small garrison that had never faced an attack. Their security systems were designed to detect and destroy ships that behaved according to standard military doctrine. Ace pilot Lisa Thompson commanded the lead fighter squadron for the mission. She had learned to fly by watching alien interceptors in combat and practicing in captured enemy craft. Her technique violated every principle of safe flying, but it was exactly what the situation required. "Remember," Lisa told her pilots as they approached the target, "fly like humans, not like machines. Be unpredictable. Be crazy. Make them guess what you're going to do next." The attack began with Lisa's squadron diving toward the alien facility, in formations that changed constantly. Her fighters rolled, spun, and weaved through space in patterns that looked random but were actually carefully planned to confuse alien targeting systems. The facility's automated defenses fired repeatedly but could not achieve effective hits against such erratic targets. While the alien computers struggled to track the fighters, Captain Morrison brought the main fleet close enough to launch their real attack. Modified human torpedoes, guided by pilots instead of computers, struck critical points on the facility with devastating accuracy. The supply depot's destruction sent shockwaves through the Zephyrian fleet around Earth. For the first time in their empire's history, humans had successfully attacked an alien installation outside their own star system. The psychological impact was as important as the tactical victory. Back on Earth, the Resistance had evolved into a complex network of interconnected cells that operated with increasing effectiveness. Mike Jackson's urban warfare teams had learned to coordinate with Carol White's underwater bases and Tony Blake's tunnel fighters without any central command structure. The aliens found that controlling human territory was impossible because humans refused to stay controlled. Every building they occupied became a target for sabotage. Every supply convoy they sent became an opportunity for ambush. Every communication they transmitted was monitored and decoded by human intelligence teams. Carlos Rivera had become an expert at electronic warfare, using his knowledge of Earth's power grid to create electromagnetic attacks that disabled alien equipment across entire regions. His team could black out alien sensors for hours at a time, creating windows of opportunity for human operations. Hannah Lewis led a medical unit that had become surprisingly effective at gathering intelligence. The aliens did not consider medical personnel to be military threats, which allowed Hannah's team to move freely through occupied areas while collecting information about alien positions and weaknesses. The war's turning point came when Dr. Foster's research team made a crucial breakthrough in understanding Zephyrian biology and psychology. Working with captured alien prisoners, they discovered that the enemy's greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. "They're not really individuals like we are," Dr. Foster explained to the Resistance leadership. "They think as part of a collective consciousness. Each alien is connected to others in their unit, sharing thoughts and decisions instantly." Jenny Miller had been monitoring alien communication networks and discovered the implications of this discovery. "That's why they can coordinate so perfectly," she said. "But it also means that chaos in one part of their formation spreads to all the others." This knowledge led to the development of new tactics designed to overwhelm alien coordination systems. Human forces began launching simultaneous attacks across multiple fronts, each one using completely different methods and objectives. The aliens could not process so many unpredictable threats at the same time. The strategy worked brilliantly. When human teams attacked alien positions in New York, Los Angeles, and London simultaneously, each using different weapons and tactics, the alien response became confused and ineffective. Their shared consciousness, which normally provided perfect coordination, became a liability when faced with too much conflicting information. Special Agent Rachel Stone led one of the most daring operations of the war when she infiltrated a Zephyrian command ship orbiting Earth. Her mission was to gather intelligence about alien fleet capabilities and long-term strategy. What she discovered changed the entire conflict. The aliens had been concealing significant losses from their own population and military leadership. Ships that were reported as operational were actually destroyed or severely damaged. Personnel. Casualties were much higher than their official reports indicated. The image of Zephyrian invincibility was a carefully maintained lie. More importantly, Rachel learned that the Zephyrian Empire was facing rebellion on other worlds. News of human resistance had spread through their territory, inspiring other, conquered species to question alien authority for the first time in centuries. Engineer Paul Anderson led the team that achieved the war's most significant intelligence breakthrough. Instead of trying to decode alien communications through traditional cryptography, they focused on understanding the emotional undertones that even logical beings could not entirely suppress. "They're afraid," Paul announced after weeks of analysis. "The aliens are actually afraid of us. They don't understand how we think, and that terrifies them more than any weapon we could build." This fear became evident when combat veteran Julia Kim led an assault on a Zephyrian command center. The alien defenders, who should have had every tactical advantage, made critical errors because they could not predict human behavior. Kim's team captured the facility and took High Commander Vexillar himself as a prisoner. The capture of their supreme commander sent panic through the alien fleet. For the first time, the Zephyrians faced the possibility that their invasion might actually fail. Species that had seemed weak and primitive had not only survived their assault, but were actively winning the war. As news of Vexillar's capture spread throughout the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire began to fracture. Conquered worlds that had accepted alien rule for centuries started organizing their own resistance movements. The empire that had seemed unbeatable was discovering that their greatest enemies were not weapons or technology, but ideas. Human ideas. About freedom, individuality, and the right to resist oppression were spreading like wildfire through galactic civilization. The second year of the war began with humanity taking the fight to the enemy. Earth's fleets, now equipped with hybrid technology and commanded by battle-hardened veterans, hunted Zephyrian forces across multiple star systems. Admiral Johnson led the largest human fleet ever assembled, while Captain Morrison commanded rapid strike forces that hit alien targets and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The aliens found themselves in a situation they had never imagined possible. For the first time in their empire's history, Zephyrian ships fled from battle instead of pursuing victory. Human forces appeared in systems that should have been safe, striking at supply lines and communication networks with devastating effectiveness. High Commander Vexillar, now held in a secure facility on Earth, provided crucial intelligence to his human captors. The former alien leader had undergone a transformation that his own people would have considered impossible. Through months of interaction with his captors, he had begun to understand concepts like individual choice and creative thinking. "Your species fights in ways that our empire never prepared for," Vexillar told Dr. Foster during one of their regular conversations. "We studied your military capabilities, but we never understood that every human could become a warrior when necessary." Dr. Foster had been working with Vexillar to understand the internal structure of the Zephyrian Empire. What she learned revealed weaknesses that humanity could exploit. "Your people have never faced real resistance before," she observed. "All the species you conquered submitted when they realized they couldn't win through conventional warfare." "Precisely," Vexillar replied. "We became efficient at conquest, but never learned to handle prolonged conflict. Our supply lines, our command structure, our entire military doctrine assumes quick victory followed by peaceful occupation. This intelligence proved invaluable when human forces began targeting the deeper structure of the alien empire. Instead of focusing only on military targets, they attacked the economic and communication networks that held Zephyrian territory together. Special Agent Rachel Stone led a series of infiltration missions into alien-controlled systems, where she discovered that the Empire was struggling to maintain control over its vast territory. The cost of the Earth campaign had drained resources from other sectors, and conquered worlds were beginning to test their boundaries. "The Empire is like a house of cards," Rachel reported to Earth's leadership. "They maintain control through the appearance of overwhelming strength, but that appearance is starting to crack." The most devastating blow to alien morale came when human forces achieved something that should have been impossible. Engineer Paul Anderson's team had been working on decoding alien communication protocols, but instead of simply intercepting messages, they learned to send false commands through the Zephyrian network. "We can make their own ships attack each other," Paul announced during a strategy meeting. "Their communication system assumes that any properly formatted command comes from legitimate authority. They never considered the possibility of deception." This breakthrough led to a series of operations that turned the alien fleet's greatest strength into a critical weakness. Human operatives sent conflicting orders to Zephyrian units, causing confusion and friendly fire incidents that destroyed alien ships without any direct human involvement. Combat veteran Julia Kim expanded her operations beyond Earth, leading assault teams that captured alien facilities across 3 star systems. Her forces had grown from a single unit to an entire division of volunteers who specialized in the unconventional warfare that had proven so effective against Zephyrian forces. "The aliens still don't understand how we fight," Julia explained to her officers before a mission to capture an alien research facility. "They expect us to follow military doctrine and fight for strategic objectives. Instead, we fight for each other and for ideas they can't measure or predict." The research facility raid demonstrated how much human capabilities had evolved during the war. Julia's team used captured alien transportation to reach their target, then employed weapons that combined human creativity with alien technology. They moved through the facility like a force of nature, adapting to each obstacle with improvised solutions that alien defenders could not anticipate. The most shocking discovery at the facility was evidence that the Zephyrian Empire had been systematically destroying the cultural heritage of conquered worlds. Art, literature, music, and historical records from dozens of species had been eliminated to prevent the spread of ideas that might encourage resistance. "They're not just conquering territory," Dr. Torres realized as she examined the alien archives. "They're trying to eliminate diversity of thought throughout the galaxy. Every species they've conquered has been forced to think and act exactly like them." This revelation transformed the conflict from a war of survival into a war of liberation. Human forces began broadcasting captured alien records to every world in the Empire, showing conquered species what they had lost and what they might regain through resistance. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Worlds that had been peaceful under alien rule for centuries suddenly erupted in rebellion. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting not just humanity, but dozens of other species who had rediscovered their desire for freedom. Captain Morrison's fleet played a crucial role in supporting these new rebellions. Human ships appeared at rebel worlds to provide weapons, supplies, and tactical support. The aliens discovered that their former victims had learned human techniques for unconventional warfare and were applying them with devastating effectiveness. Lisa Thompson had become one of humanity's most successful combat pilots, leading squadrons that included volunteers from newly liberated worlds. Her mixed-species fighter wings proved that cooperation between different types of beings could create military units far more effective than anything the homogeneous Zephyrian forces could field. "Every species brings something different to the fight," Lisa explained to her diverse pilots. "The Capharians are incredibly fast, the Molari have perfect spatial awareness, and the Zentarans can communicate telepathically. When we combine our abilities with human unpredictability, we're unstoppable." The alien empire's response to widespread rebellion revealed how dependent they had become on fear and intimidation. When multiple worlds resisted simultaneously, the Zephyrians lacked sufficient forces to suppress all the uprisings. They were forced to choose which rebellions to fight, allowing others to succeed by default. Tony Blake had evolved from a tunnel fighter in New York to a strategic advisor helping liberated worlds organize their own resistance movements. His experience in unconventional warfare proved applicable across different species and environments. The key is never to fight the way they expect. Tony taught rebel leaders from a dozen different worlds. Be unpredictable. Use your knowledge of local conditions. Make them afraid to occupy your territory. Carol White's underwater bases had become a model for resistance movements throughout the galaxy. Species that lived in environments the Zephyrians couldn't easily control used her techniques to create hidden networks that were impossible to eliminate completely. The war reached a turning point when human forces captured a major Zephyrian fleet base located at the edge of their territory. The facility contained intelligence about the Empire's true military strength and strategic situation. What they found there changed everything. The Zephyrian Empire was not the overwhelming force it appeared to be. Their military was spread thin, across vast distances, maintaining control through careful positioning and the threat of retaliation rather than actual superior numbers. The Earth campaign had forced them to reveal this weakness by committing resources they could not afford to lose. Frank Garcia's engineering teams had been reverse engineering alien technology throughout the war, but their latest breakthrough surpassed all previous achievements. They had created weapons that were not just equal to alien equipment, but actually superior in many ways. Human creativity combined with their technology produces results that neither side could achieve alone, Frank announced as he demonstrated a new class of warship. We're not just matching their capabilities anymore, we're exceeding them, ho. New human vessels incorporated design principles that reflected humanity's approach to warfare. Instead of relying on overwhelming firepower or perfect coordination, they emphasized adaptability, rapid response, and the ability to function independently when cut off from central command. As the second year of fighting drew to a close, the Zephyrian Empire faced a crisis that threatened its very existence. The humans they had dismissed as primitive and weak had not only survived their assault, but had inspired a galactic revolution that was tearing their empire apart. High Commander Vex Alar, watching reports of the growing rebellion from his Earth prison, made a confession that would have been unthinkable when the war began. "We were wrong about your species," he told Dr. Foster. "We thought strength meant uniformity and control. You have shown us that true strength comes from diversity and the willingness to fight for what you believe." The hunter had indeed become the hunted. But more than that, the galaxy itself was awakening to possibilities that the Zephyrian Empire had tried to eliminate forever. 2 years after first contact, the impossible had happened. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, which had dominated the galaxy for over 1,000 years, sent a formal request for ceasefire to Earth. The message arrived not as an ultimatum delivered by superior beings, but as a desperate plea from a failing empire seeking to understand how everything had gone so wrong. President Martinez stood in the same White House briefing room where she had declared humanity's refusal to surrender. Now, she faced a very different situation. Alien ships still orbited Earth, but they came as supplicants rather than conquerors. The crystal-featured beings who had once threatened to eliminate humanity now sought to learn from the species they had underestimated so completely. The ceasefire negotiations took place aboard a specially constructed space station in neutral territory. Ambassador Helen Brooks, who had become known throughout the galaxy as the Iron Diplomat, led the human delegation. Across the table sat High Commander Vex Alar, no longer a prisoner but not quite a free being either. His empire was collapsing around him, and he knew that humanity represented his people's only hope for survival. "We come to ask for your guidance," Vex Alar said, words that would have been unthinkable 2 years earlier. "Our empire is dissolving. 43 worlds have declared independence. Our military forces are in retreat across 7 sectors. We do not understand how this happened." Ambassador Brooks studied the alien commander with a mixture of sympathy and wariness. The war had taught humanity that mercy could be a strength, but also that vigilance was always necessary. "You lost because you never understood what you were fighting," she replied. "You saw our diversity as weakness, but it was our greatest strength." The negotiations continued for weeks, but the real work of building a new galactic order was happening on dozens of worlds across the former empire. Captain Morrison, now commanding the flagship Perseverance, led humanitarian missions to planets where Zephyrian control had collapsed. His mixed crews of humans and former alien subjects worked together to establish stable governments based on principles of freedom and cooperation. Dr. Carter's linguistic skills had become more valuable than ever as humanity made contact with species that had been suppressed under alien rule for centuries. Each world had its own language and culture that the Zephyrians had tried to eliminate. Her work in preserving and reviving these diverse traditions became a cornerstone of the new galactic civilization. "Every species has something unique to contribute," Dr. Carter explained to a gathering of planetary representatives. "The Zephyrians tried to make everyone think the same way, but we've learned that diversity of thought is what drives progress and innovation." The most dramatic change came in how different species approached problem-solving and decision-making. Under Zephyrian rule, all major decisions had been made by the Empire's central authority using pure logic and mathematical analysis. The new system encouraged each world to develop its own solutions while sharing knowledge and resources with others. Tony Blake found himself in an unexpected role as an advisor to newly liberated worlds. His experience with unconventional warfare had taught him lessons that applied to peaceful resistance against oppression. He traveled from planet to planet, teaching former slaves how to think independently and organize their own societies. "Freedom isn't something that gets handed to you," Tony told a gathering of former Zephyrian subjects on the world of Kepler Prime. "It's something you have to practice every day. You have to be willing to make mistakes, learn from them, and try again." The economic transformation of the galaxy proved as dramatic as the political changes. Under Zephyrian rule, all production had been centrally planned to serve the Empire's needs. The new system allowed each world to develop its own economy based on local resources and capabilities. Frank Garcia's engineering teams worked with alien scientists to develop technologies that combined the best aspects of different species' innovations. The results exceeded anything the Zephyrian Empire had achieved through its rigid top-down approach to research and development. "When you let different minds work together freely," Frank observed, "you get solutions that none of them could have found alone." The aliens had incredible technology, but they never learned how to improve it because they were afraid of change. Carol White established the Galactic Environmental Council, an organization that helped different worlds share knowledge about sustainable development and ecosystem preservation. Her underwater resistance experience had taught her the importance of working with natural systems rather than trying to dominate them. The Council's first major project was the restoration of worlds that had been strip-mined under Zephyrian rule. Using a combination of alien technology and human biological knowledge, they began healing ecosystems that had been considered permanently destroyed. Admiral Johnson took command of the new Galactic Defense Fleet, an unprecedented organization that brought together ships and personnel from dozens of different species. The fleet's mission was not conquest or control, but protection of the freedom that so many worlds had fought to achieve. "We're not building an empire," Admiral Johnson explained to her diverse officer corps. "We're building a network of free worlds that choose to work together for mutual benefit. Anyone who wants to leave can leave. Anyone who wants to join can join. The choice is always theirs." The transformation of the Zephyrians themselves proved to be one of the most challenging aspects of the new order. Billions of beings who had known only rigid hierarchy and collective thinking were suddenly expected to make individual decisions and accept personal responsibility for their actions. High Commander Vexalar became an unlikely advocate for change within his own species. Working with Dr. Foster and other human advisors, he helped establish programs to teach Zephyrians about concepts like personal autonomy and creative expression. We spent 1,000 years believing that order and control were the highest virtues. Vexalar reflected during one of his regular conversations with Dr. Foster. You have shown us that chaos and freedom can create beauty and strength that perfect order never could. Not all Zephyrians accepted the new reality. Remnant forces under commanders like War Chief Thakron continued to fight for the restoration of the old empire. These holdouts became a persistent threat that required ongoing vigilance from the Galactic Defense Fleet. Lisa Thompson led the fighter squadrons that responded to these threats, her mixed-species wings proving again and again that cooperation was superior to domination. Her pilots came from 20 different worlds, each bringing unique skills and perspectives to their shared mission. The most significant moment in establishing the new order came when the Galactic Freedom Alliance held its first Democratic Assembly. Representatives from 97 worlds gathered on a space station built cooperatively by dozens of different species. For the first time in galactic history, major decisions would be made by consensus rather than imperial decree. President Martinez, now serving as the first elected president of the Alliance, addressed the assembly in a speech that would be remembered for centuries. 2 years ago, we were told that we were too weak and chaotic to survive in this galaxy, she said. Today, we have learned that our weaknesses were actually our greatest strengths, and that diversity is the foundation of true civilization. The Alliance's first major decision was the establishment of the Galactic Charter of Rights, a document that guaranteed freedom of thought, expression, and self-determination to all sentient beings. The charter was based on human concepts of individual liberty, but it was expanded and refined through input from dozens of different species and cultures. Paul Anderson's work in establishing galactic communication networks became crucial to maintaining unity across such a diverse alliance. His systems allowed instant communication between worlds while preserving each planet's cultural autonomy and linguistic diversity. The war crimes trials of former Zephyrian leaders presented another challenge for the new order. Many beings demanded harsh punishment for centuries of oppression, while others argued for forgiveness and reconciliation. The solution they developed reflected humanity's influence on galactic thinking. Justice means understanding why things went wrong and making sure they don't happen again, explained Chief Justice Maria Santos, a former engineer who had become one of the Alliance's leading legal thinkers. Punishment without understanding just creates more suffering. As the new galactic order stabilized, exploration and discovery accelerated beyond anything previously imagined. Mixed crews, led by explorers like Captain Morrison, pushed into regions of space that the Zephyrian Empire had never reached, making contact with new species and discovering wonders that challenged existing knowledge. Dr. Foster's research into interspecies cooperation led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to physics. When beings from different evolutionary backgrounds worked together, they could solve problems that had puzzled scientists for millennia. The story reached its conclusion aboard the Perseverance as it prepared for humanity's most ambitious mission. Yet, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge surrounded by crew members from a dozen different species, each contributing their unique abilities to the shared goal of exploring the unknown.